Hey everyone, welcome back to Topher Drives, where today, thanks to Nissan of Canton, we're driving a proper, full-size, body-on-frame American luxury sedan. This is a 2005 Lincoln Town Car Signature. Now, the name Signature may sound fancy, but this was actually the base model back in 2005. It started around $42,000, which in today's money is going on for 70 grand. So someone's Meemaw Peepaw paid the equivalent of $70,000 or more for this car back just about 20 years ago. Now, this thing is quite iconic in its own way because it's a Lincoln Town Car. These things are still used everywhere in the US as limousines and probably overseas as well. I feel like there's a little bit of an export culture for these, but mainly because this is based upon Ford's Panther platform, one of the most proven platforms in the history of the automobile. These cars are like cockroaches. They're impossible to kill. You still see them everywhere where they haven't been killed by rust. But this Lincoln Town Car shares platform with the Ford Crown Victoria, which, as we know, was used for 20 years by every sort of government agency and police station and everyone else that needed just kind of a bare bones, plain American company car. And the reason I say these are like cockroaches is because police departments would buy these Crown Victorias brand new. They'd run them for 5-10 years, whatever, put 100,000 miles on them. And then New York City taxi companies would buy them and run them into the ground, essentially until they rusted in half. I mean, these cars would have 3, 4, 5, 600,000 miles on them before they were finally retired. And I think, unfortunately, these days, all of the New York City taxis have kind of fallen victim to being in the Rust Belt. And they've all kind of been replaced by sad Toyota RAV4s and Ford C-Maxes. But these were the days when these cars were in their prime. That was a good time, I think, to be American. I was only about 7 years old. But anyway, let's talk about this car we have here in front of us, getting distracted by Crown Victorias. So as I said, 05 Signature, it's a base model. The Town Car received a facelift in 2003, and it essentially looked just like this up until its demise in 2011. But we did get some bumped power numbers from our naturally aspirated 4.6-liter single overhead cam V8 in this configuration, making 239 horsepower and 287 pound-feet of torque. And power is sent to the rear wheels via a 4-speed automatic. Very simple, old-school American stuff. And this is actually a very nicely looked after example. It's only done 57,000 miles. It's a pretty simple black on black spec. And as Anthony from Specialty Motor Cars would say, it's got some gingerbread going on here. We've got a full cloth top on this. You can see our signature badging here on this C-pillar, and we have the chrome arch extensions on this as well. So some gingerbread. I think it could use some more. I think this would benefit from maybe the chrome pillar or the chrome rocker trim or something like that, but I have to keep reminding myself this is a base model. They also did the Signature Limited, and they even offered a long wheelbase version of this called the Signature L. Those were, of course, more expensive. They had more wood trimmings and things inside. But honestly, as you guys will see on today's walk around, this is pretty dang impressive for being a so-called base model. So today we're going to do what all Lincoln Town Cars do, and actually we're not going to drive the coast of Florida as this one has done. This car actually did come from Florida. But we're going to do what a working Lincoln Town Car does, and we're going to commute into the city and pretend I'm supposed to be a limo service or something, but we'll be able to see what it's like to kind of live with one of these and if it is still kind of a viable daily driver 20 years later. So let's take a look around this thing. This is sitting on a set of 235/55R17 Hankook all-season tires. You can see these wheels do have a little bit of corrosion, but I mean, you know, this car has been used. There are some dings and scratches around it, but I mean, it's offered right now at Nissan of Canton for only $10,000. I feel like this is a lot of car for 10 grand. They're not paying me to say that. I just like old American cars like this. Let's pop the trunk because it might actually be my favorite part about this. You can see our old school Ford key fob. Hold the blue button, the trunk pops right open, revealing what has to be the most massive trunk space I've ever seen. I know cars of the 50s through the 80s did have bigger trunks, but for a 2005, I mean, come on. I can easily get in this. I'm not going to close the trunk because I don't have anyone here to rescue me in case things go wrong, but I can just hang out back here. I mean, this is unbelievable. And then there's another little shelf up here. I don't know, probably the fuel tank is under that. And then behind my feet here, there's a spare tire. Granted, a compact spare, but you know, it'll save you in case of an emergency. little shelf here, and then you have the emergency release for your fuel filler right there. On the back, we have parking sensors. Really just nice chrome trim. This was the end of an era. I can't believe they even really made this until 2011. Well, let's pop the hood and show you this single overhead cam 4.6 liter. Pretty much what you would have found in a Mustang GT of this era, the SN95/New Edge. But this makes like, what did I say this man? Like 30 less horsepower. The Mustang GT was somewhere around 260. So there you go. It actually doesn't take up a whole lot of room in this engine bay. There's just kind of a lot of extra car here. You can see the engine actually sits just about smack dab on top of this front axle, which is actually independent front suspension. We do have a solid rear axle on this, and as I said, this is a body-on-frame sedan. But this thing still runs pretty smooth. This car did spend some time in the north. You can see we have some corrosion going on in the engine bay, but I think this was owned by what we call up in the north snowbirds, you know, people that kind of live in Michigan or Illinois or Ohio during the winter, and then they drive down to Florida and drive their Lincoln Town Car down there. Let's jump in what is probably the most important seat in this car. Back seat in this one looks quite nice. Oh, you just literally sink into this back seat. Really nice handle to pull the door shut. That door makes a nice noise. And honestly, not the craziest amount of legroom. As I said, they did do a long wheelbase version, and this is not that. But what I love about this car is you can kind of just slouch back here, and it's just, I got my eyes shut right now, and it's just a very, very serene place. It's actually quite quiet in here. I feel very isolated from the outside world. We have these almost like anodized gold metal trims in here. We have ashtrays, obviously, so your backseat passengers can smoke their cigarettes. You'll see we've got a couple more of those up front. We've got a fold-down armrest here with two very shallow cup holders. I don't really know what you'd be putting in that, but an opportunity for a very cozy right elbow. You don't get your own climate panel back here, but you do get some vents, which is quite nice. You've got seat back pockets, one of which I'm using for my spare camera right now, in case the one on my face overheats. You can see our dashboard layout up front. Lots of wood and other fine materials. Let's go ahead and jump up there. And I was kind of waiting out the lighting today. It's been full sun all day. Some clouds finally rolled in. Unfortunately, it's 4 o'clock, which means we're probably going to run into some rush hour traffic. But, oh, got to do that again and not talk over the sound of the door opening. Oh. I mean, come on. Such a cool noise there. Very solid noise, which solid is a word I don't like to say, but I feel like it's appropriate here for this town car. Ooh, driver's seat, also like a couch. They're bucket seats, but if you fold the console up, which I have a bunch of stuff in there, so I don't super want to do that, it does kind of become like a bench seat configuration. There is no seat belt, though, that I can see for the middle, unless it's been tucked down somewhere. Oh, it is. Yep, I think it's just tucked down in the middle. So you could use this as a 6-seater vehicle. We have this little hidden compartment on the door panel just to store extra stuff, I suppose. That's pretty loose and squeaky at this point. That little button here pops our fuel filler, where this says something that I've never seen in any other car. Regular fuel recommended. Usually they just don't say anything, but I guess they're telling you to run 87 in this, which is quite nice. And these are actually rated at something like 25 miles to the gallon on the highway. I know people that actually own these and daily drive them do report that they are somewhat efficient and probably not too expensive to run, considering they take 87. Okay, let's use our door pull to pull this thing shut. I'm getting way too excited about this Lincoln Town car. Let's start it up, go for a drive. You can see there, fires right up. 57,098 miles. Very nice clock here on the dash. I imagine people often replace this with a big, hideous tablet aftermarket radio. But this one is quite classy. We just have a Dolby cassette tape player. These were available with a THX sound system on higher trims. This one does not have that, I assume, because the speakers don't say THX on them. We have double sun visors. We have this little hidden cubby which pops out so Meemaw and Peepaw can both smoke their cigarettes and ash those there in the middle, but only one cigarette lighter, so they have to take turns with that. Full physical climate control panel. Obviously, this is a 20-year-old car, but it does have auto, which is nice to see. A couple of different things we can see on the cluster here. Average speed, trip A and B. Fuel economy, this has been doing 12.8, probably lots of idling, but we're going to reset that and see what we do today. Let's just leave that on the fuel economy menu. Power adjust pedals. It's a very Ford thing to see, especially from this era. They were big on their power adjust pedals. Leather wrapped steering wheel, higher trims got this spoke at the top, was molded wood or a wood-like material. Kind of an awkward steering wheel in the hands. We'll talk more about that once we're out on the road. But this is just kind of like, you know, most cars these days, you sit in them. This one, I feel like I'm sitting on it, but I suppose sinking down into it. Look at these seats. Oh man, just such plush, big couch-like materials. But all right, well, I think that's pretty much it up front. As a treat for you guys, I brought my cassette to aux adapter so we can do a sound system test on this thing at some point. We'll probably save that for the very end, but we'll make sure we do it for you so long as the radio works. I haven't tested it. But all right, seat adjustments on the door, kind of like a Mercedes-Benz. Let's get this thing out on the road and see what it's like to drive. Column shifter, which means we have this huge open layout here. Hydraulic power steering, though, in 05, it's actually got a revised steering rack that is speed sensitive. And the noise of that 4.6 liter taking off. It's just so reminiscent. I spent quite a bit of time in Chicago as a kid, so I rode around in the back of a lot of Crown Victorias. The noise is bringing back memories. I also spent some time working at a Ford dealership, as some of you know. So I drove my fair share of Crown Victorias and probably town cars. I just don't remember because it's been about 10 years. Really nice throttle response. You can still move this thing with urgency. Now, this turn signal is blinking quickly, though I got out and I checked and both of them are working, so I'm not being that guy today. This car is definitely geared to go quickly in first gear from stoplight to stoplight in the city, and then that's it. You know, it'll do a 0 to 20 pretty quickly, and then it's also happy kind of settling down on the highway, but everything in between is very sluggish. As I mentioned, 239 horsepower, doesn't go a super long way. This weighs 4,300 pounds, which means 0 to 60 happens in about 9.5 seconds. All right, let's get this out onto the road. It actually doesn't feel that slow, though, to be honest, and the 4.6 makes a very nice noise. Brake pedal feels nice. And lean. No RPM gauge in here. A temp gauge, a speedo, and a fuel gauge. All you need. Out of the way, I have important things to accomplish. Many clients to pick up. Ride quality on this car is interesting because I kind of expected it to be like unbelievably floaty, but this is going to sound hilarious. It's actually kind of decently composed. I mean, there's an insane amount of body roll. It's kind of like sailing a ship, but it's not as uncomposed as I kind of figured it would be. And with this getting quite a few frame and suspension updates in 2003 with the final facelift, it makes sense they kind of made it more drivable for normal people. I kind of feel like I'm going to fall out of the car going around this corner. Might want to do that one more time, see what it can really do for research purposes. But I imagine earlier models, which we'll have to try and get our hands on one of those, earlier models probably were very wallowy. You do get automatic headlights in here, and that's a nice treat. You get a dimmer for your gauge cluster. Okay, pay attention to steering. Steering's very light, by the way. I feel like that kind of goes without saying. Let's turn traction off. I love old American cars like this. They're so unserious. Like, this was back before anyone cared about mitigating body roll, or like, just people just wanted to go about their day and be comfortable. And not everything had to corner like a Formula One car. I mean, you get in like a Lincoln Corsair, which is a dreadful car these days. It's sad to see how far Lincoln has fallen. And it rides too stiff, and it's quite sharp around a corner. This is what a Lincoln should be. This is what a Cadillac should be. Third time's the charm here on our corner. We're going to give this Altima some room. Got to figure out which town car driver I want to embody today. New York City taxi driver or 90-year-old retirement home resident. All right, let's throw this into a corner here. Oh my God, I'm falling out of the seat. Yep. I was a little scared. Okay, I wasn't scared to squeal the tires there. However, there's only physics exist. If this was up, I would have been over in the passenger seat. The console's kind of saving me a little bit here. I do kind of want to see how this gets off the line and do a proper 0 to 60. In 05, this did get a slightly revised rear axle. This has a 327 gear. It's going to be the longest Lincoln Town Car video on the internet, and I'm okay with that. Let's just roll into it and see how it gets off the line. Okay, that's got to be faster than 9 seconds. Who was driving this back in the 2005 road test? That feels like a solid 7.5 second 0 to 60. If my butt dyno is accurate. Let's turn traction back on. Okay, there we go. We're going to reset the fuel economy because all of that was just obviously not beneficial to it. So we'll see what this actually does now in a real world setting. We'll commute this to downtown and we'll wind it up a parking structure and see what it was like to be Jeeves back in 2005. Or Jeeves today, really, because all of these, most of these are still around. I feel like there's a lot more town cars around than Crown Victorias. Crown Victorias were treated a lot worse than town cars. Though, I still see these as stretch limos around here, which is just remarkable. I mean, I can't imagine 239 horsepower pulling around an extra couple thousand pounds. We've got a tilt wheel. Brings the shifter with it. No telescoping though, but luckily lots of good adjustment with the seat. The vent placement here is quite good as well. Got this set to 60 degrees auto. It's cooling me nicely in here. Very, very cold air conditioning. I do like a good 4-speed automatic. I mean, most of the time they kind of just feel like a CVT, but that's okay. I mean, this thing is never searching for gears. It's all about just being smooth. Lincoln actually made quite a few designer trim levels of these town cars over the years. The town car existed since the early 80s, believe it or not, on essentially the same frame that this car is on. So this is underneath the car from the early 1980s. But anyway, getting off topic here. There was a Cartier town car. Lincoln also had some cars with Givenchy trim levels. So I mean, it was kind of the thing back in the day to make designer, like, kind of clothing brand or watches with Cartier, kind of incorporating that into cars. The longest entrance ramp in the history of entrance ramps, and we still have to merge going 38 miles per hour. This would be a good kickdown test for this 4-speed, I suppose. Yeah. Okay, this is gonna sound crazy. This car doesn't really feel that big. It just drives so much big stuff. I mean, I'm driving a Ram RHO this week, which could contribute to this feeling kind of small. But I feel like just in the grand scheme of things, with everything these days being an SUV, I mean, someone that buys like a Honda Pilot, that's like about the size of this car. So it really doesn't feel that massive. Anyway though, what does this feel like to float down the highway? Well, the word float does actually make sense in this setting. You do get the odd, body on frame, a little bit of bounciness that I talked about earlier, but for the most part, I think the interior also does a really good job of like soaking things up in here. You just love to sit in a Lincoln town car. Doesn't matter what seat you're in, you're gonna have an equally comfortable experience in this thing. Oh, I should have turned overdrive off for the spirited section earlier. Oh well. Yeah, no way to manually control the 4-speed. The easiest, well, I guess there is a 1 and a 2 and an overdrive off. So I guess you can do a 1, 2, 3, 4, just in a bit more of a clever way. Yourself being clever, that is. But ride quality is good. Good amount of seat adjustment. There's actually a little hidden lumbar switch right under your right leg. Lots of back support. It's still going. It's still going. It's still going out. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. My back is arched like you wouldn't believe right now. Visibility out of this thing is fantastic. I mean, I can see absolutely everything I need. The rearview mirror is perfectly shaped. Side mirrors, those do a good job. Very well positioned. I mean, the windshield is nice. You can see that Lincoln badge out of the windshield. Love to see it. I should have one of these. See, I kind of knew this would happen. I've never spent any extended time in one of these cars, and I knew I would kind of emerge from this experience thinking this would kind of just be perfect for me. And you can have these. I mean, they pop up on Marketplace all the time for like $4,000. Those are usually pretty rotted out and gross, but even like a perfect example, like you buy from Anthony at Specialty Motor Cars, I mean, 20, 25 grand for like the best town car in the world with like 8,000 miles on it. I would say, 10 to 15,000. This example, of course, being offered at 10 grand, gets you a really nice daily driver. I kind of understand the steering wheel now at this point. It's made for the highway to just rest. Because you can drive it like this, but it's kind of awkward because the spokes are a little bit lower than 9 and 3. So if you drive it like this, it's weird. We do have cruise control, but I can't work out how it... I have no idea how it works. I can't get it. I think these buttons are just broken. Or someone can tell me that I'm being an idiot, but there's also temperature control. You can control your climate control from the steering wheel. That's cool. It is kind of far away. It's easy also if you're a grandma that kind of struggles to see over the dashboard. You just use your right thumb down here. Track controls. Next. Very easy. Big text for grandma to see. Elbow comfiness. Actually not as good as I maybe thought it would be. I think the problem is this, where your left elbow rests, is also that cubby. So they have to make it be able to hold up somewhat, with being opened and shut. And it's kind of just like grainy and squeaky, and it's a soft plastic, but it's not leather wrapped or anything. The center console, on the other hand, it's a little bit better. I mean, you do have some padding here, and you kind of don't have to rest your elbow. You can kind of just like stick your whole arm on this thing and relax. I have a feeling the traffic is going to be not very nice. But look at this, we're doing 20 miles to the gallon right now. I think by the time we get into the city, it's going to be something like 18, which for a 4,400 pound body on frame sedan with a V8 motor that takes regular fuel, not too bad. Really not too bad. You kind of find yourself driving this kind of like you'd ride a bike. You kind of lean your body into the corners, that way you're not like slipping all around the interior, because there's really nothing to hold you in. I mean, you kind of brace yourself on the steering wheel, and that's kind of all you have. It's your one lifeline. I think the most impressive thing for me is how nice all of the inputs are in this car at low speed. I mean, throttle response, brake feel. I mean, the steering's vague, obviously, but at low speeds, I mean, it's light, it's quick enough, it gets the job done. It's nice, it's easy to drive. There's even like minimal interior rattles in here. There's a few things that kind of creak, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, if you got in a 2005 Mercedes-Benz or a BMW, I mean, I think you'd find more interior rattles in one of those vehicles. The saddest thing about the end of this car is it was kind of spiritually replaced by the Lincoln MKT, which I suppose makes sense because it kind of just looks like a hearse from the factory. So they didn't have to go through all the trouble of converting it into a hearse, as some of these were made into hearses. This would be a good car to take your final ride in. I fear it was my own kind that probably killed these cars. I mean, automotive journalists that just complained about things being too floaty and having too much body roll. But I think now they're becoming more self-aware and missing this sort of car. Well, what do you guys think? As we kind of get into this traffic, should we try out the cassette player? Look how easy that was to accomplish, actually. Honestly, it doesn't sound too bad. I think if you got that dialed in, I think the hardware is here. If you just got the tuning kind of dialed in, it would be pretty good. And I imagine the THX system is quite impressive too. But I just love that this era of cars, you had the cassette player, because there was this weird era in like the late 2000s and early 2010s where there was no cassette option and there was no aux input. So like my 06 Porsche Cayman S only has a CD player. That's it. So it's nice to have some sort of way in the modern age, in the 2020s, to be able to play your own music, and this has that. All right, well, let's try and wrap this up and be serious for a second. Obviously, we can joke about this car and it has its stereotypes, but this is genuinely a really good option for somebody probably that lives down south as a daily driver, because the north is just not kind to these cars. They rust out, plus they're only rear-wheel drive. So not the best option for a full season daily driver. And for someone that just wants a nice one-car solution, I don't know that I would recommend this in Michigan. But if you live somewhere with a mild climate, this would be a really great solution for you, and it probably would live as long as you. Second gen town car. I was hoping we'd see one of those on today's trip. Definitely maneuver these around the city with ease. Look at that, guys, as we get into the city, 20.3 miles per gallon. All right, let's get this big body sedan wound up the parking structure. Oh, Oh, the right turn signal is not blinking fast anymore. See, you just needed to be driven a bit. Auto down driver's window.
Please select an event from the
Perfect height. Thank you.
Please proceed into the lot.
I will, with much care. Just throw that over there. It's a very quiet V8. Windows go up very fast. Headlights in auto mode, those have turned on. It's really just kind of a situation where you do a lot of steering, but you're rewarded for that. I mean, you get a lot of steering out of your inputs. See that? Alrighty guys, well that's going to wrap it up for us today. I love the sense of urgency with this car. What in the world? Anyway, what I was going to say is I like the split personality of this car where it is genuinely usable, but it's so nice to just chill out in it on the highway as well. Really, really nice daily driver material, and you look cool. I mean, this is just, it's becoming kind of retro, nonsensey cool these days to have a Lincoln Town Car. Especially now that it's been out of production for 14 years. It's almost half my lifetime these cars have ceased to exist. As you can tell, I like the Lincoln Town Car. This has been a good one. Thanks again to Nissan of Canton and subsequently Nissan of Dearborn, all kind of under the same umbrella. Thanks to both of those dealerships for making this happen. And as always, make sure to browse their used inventory. And if you see something that you want me to drive, let me know. Because most of the time, unless it sells, we can make it happen. So, all right, let's park this up. I want to see how this fits in a parking spot. Nose it in first, and then we'll back in. Obviously, no backup camera in this, so you got to do it the old school way with your mirrors. Oh, but we have parking sensors. How much do I trust those? Lots of sort of crispy crunchies there from the door panel. Yeah, it's kind of a big car. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap it up for us today with this 05 Lincoln Town Car Signature. A little bit of gingerbread going on. Thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you've been enjoying some of these used cars. Also probably going to try and up the road trips once again this spring and summer. Get Emily back into some videos and kind of get back to our normal Topher Drives content. But again, I hope you enjoyed this Lincoln Town Car. And, well, we'll see you in the next one. Take care.